Hello everyone, myself Dr. Rachita Bhaikar, and today we are going to study about the cerebral hemisphere or the cerebrum. Cerebrum is the largest part of human brain, which is developed from dorsolateral walls of the primitive forebrain vesicles. The cerebrum is highly convoluted bilobed structure, and the two lateral halves are connected to each other by means of the corpus callosum. Each half is called as the cerebral hemisphere. The cerebral hemisphere and the anterior part of the third ventricle, rostral to the interventricular foramen, forms together the telencephalon. So thus it is derived from the telencephalon. There is a deep median cleft or longitudinal cerebral fissure which incompletely separates the two cerebral hemispheres. The cerebral hemisphere comprises a mantle of cortical gray matter, and inner is the white matter, and innermost is the gray matter which is embedded in the white matter. So these are called as the basal ganglia, also called as basal nuclei, and the cavity of this cerebral hemisphere is called as the lateral ventricles. So from outside to inside, it consists of the gray matter, the white matter, and the basal nuclei or basal ganglia. As this is the largest part of the brain, it has to accommodate in the small cranial cavity in a limited space within the rigid cranial box. So the cerebral cortex is folded into numerous gyri and sulci. When the two cerebral hemispheres are viewed together from above, they assume the shape of an ovoid mass, which is broader behind than in the front. The widest transverse diameter is at the parietal tuberosities. The cerebral hemispheres are separated from each other by a median longitudinal fissure which is complete in front and behind, but in the middle, the bottom of the fissure is occupied by corpus callosum, that is the largest band of the commissural fibers. This median longitudinal fissure is occupied by means of falx cerebri, which is a sickle-shaped fold of dura mater. Then there is a fold of arachnoid that follows the surface of falx cerebri. Next layer is a pia mater that is covering the medial surface of the falx cerebri and anterior cerebral arteries and veins. To study the gross anatomy of each hemisphere, the brain is divided into two symmetrical halves by median sagittal section through the corpus callosum and the structure of the brainstem. So each cerebral hemisphere has 3 surfaces, 3 poles, 4 borders and 4 lobes. There are 3 poles in each cerebral hemisphere, that is a frontal pole, an occipital pole, and here lies the temporal pole. The frontal pole is more rounded as compared to the occipital pole, whereas the temporal pole is below and in front at the junction of the orbital and the tentorial surfaces. And it is considered that this temporal pole is the primitive posterior pole which is curved anterior-inferiorly for the better accommodation. So that's why the anterior pole or frontal pole is supplied by means of the branches of anterior cerebral artery, the temporal pole by means of the middle cerebral artery, and the occipital pole by means of the posterior cerebral artery. Surfaces of the cerebral hemisphere, there are the 3 surfaces are seen, that is superior lateral surface, the inferior surface and the medial surface. The superior lateral surface is convex and is adapted to the under surface of the vault of the skull, When viewed from above, the entire brain is ovoid in outline and maximum diameter corresponds with the parietal eminence. Two important sulci one should remember, that is the central sulcus, lateral sulcus traverse this surface. That is, this is the central sulcus and the other one is lateral sulcus. The central sulcus of Rolando is a limiting sulcus and begins at the superior medial margin slightly behind the midpoint between the frontal pole and the occipital pole. So here it is going to arise. Then this sulcus passes sinuously downwards, forwards and laterally, making an angle of 70 degrees with the median sagittal plane. Its lower end lies slightly above the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So here is the lower end. One should always remember that the upper end of the central sulcus is the only sulcus which indents the superior medial border of the cerebral hemisphere. That's why central sulcus is considered as the key sulcus, which forms the boundary between the motor area which is lying in front of it and the sensory area which is lying behind it. Now coming to the lateral sulcus. The lateral sulcus of Celvius consists of a stem and there are the three rami emerge from it. The stem of the lateral sulcus intervenes between the orbital surface and the tentorial surface and is occupied by means of lesser wing of the sphenoid bone along with spinoparietal sinus. The three rami, 1, 2 and the third one is this, three rami which emerge from the stem are called as the anterior horizontal, the anterior ascending and the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, of which the posterior ramus is quite larger as compared to the other two. Anterior horizontal and anterior ascending ramus are about 1 inch, that is 2.5 centimeters in length, whereas the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus is about 7.5 centimeters in length. So because of this, the area below the anterior horizontal is called as the pars orbitalis because it is near the orbital surface, so that's why it is called as a pars orbitalis. The area between the anterior horizontal and anterior ascending is called as the pars triangularis because it is triangular in shape, and the area between the anterior ascending and the posterior ramus is called as the pars posteriors. Two more sulcus which are constant in position are the calcarine sulcus and the parieto-occipital sulcus. Parieto-occipital sulcus is present on the medial surface of the hemisphere and it begins at the midpoint of calcarine sulcus and course upward and slightly backwards to cut the superior medial border, which is about 5 centimeters above the occipital pole. Whereas the calcarine sulcus is present on the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere, which begins as a deep fissure below the posterior end of the corpus callosum. So this is the posterior end. From there we are going to start the calcarine sulcus. So due to its arch course with the convexity upwards, we can see this calcarine sulcus. So with the help of the central sulcus, lateral sulcus, the preoccipital notch and the parieto-occipital sulcus, the superior lateral surface has been divided into 5 lobes. That is the frontal, the temporal, the occipital, the parietal and The one which is hidden is called as the insular, also called as the central lobe. So here you can see the frontal lobe lies in front of the central sulcus and above the lateral sulcus. So this is the frontal lobe. Whereas parietal lobe is bounded in front by the central sulcus and behind by an imaginary line which extends from parieto-occipital sulcus to the pre-occipital notch. Above by the superior medial margin and below by means of posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. The occipital lobe lies behind the imaginary parieto-occipital line and extends up to the occipital pole, whereas temporal lobe lies in front of the occipital lobe and is limited above by the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus and a line extending from it backwards to cut the parieto-occipital sulcus. Whereas the insular or the central lobe is a pyramidal shaped submerged cortex that is called as the island of Riehl, which lies at the bottom of stem of the posterior ramus. So here we can see there lies the stem of the lateral sulcus and beneath it lies the island of Riehl. It has been submerged from the surface during the development of brain due to the overgrowth of surrounding cortical areas. And it can be seen only if we retract the lateral sulcus. And it is triangular in shape and surrounded on all sides by the sulcus, which is called as circular sulcus, which is grey in color, except on the anterior inferior side, which is called as the limen insulae, which is continuous with that of the anterior perforated substance. The insula is having two main regions, that is the anterior and posterior by the central sulcus. So this sulcus centralis, or also called as the central sulcus, thus divides this into anterior area, which shows various 3 to 4 small gyri, which are called as the gyri brevi. On the posterior aspect, it shows a large gyri, which is called as a gyri longi.